So what's most important is, are we willing to make each other an instrument of each other's abundance? Are we willing to look beyond where we are and really look at the relationship that we have with each other? And when we're praying and meditating, we need to be coming from a place of asking the universe or Mother God or Lord or Allah, whatever which way you wish to call it for you. This is not for me to question your certain religious beliefs. I wish to honor and respect everyone's spiritual practices, as long as it's being true to yourself. And mine I keep to myself. They're very private, but I have a very private connection between me and God. And so it's important that when we pray with each other in the relationship, that level of prayer has to come from, God, make me an instrument of your abundance. Make me an instrument of what you already are. So you're not really asking for something, but you're allowing the universe to make you an instrument of what you already are. I've used this since I was a kid, and it comes from St. Francis. My father took a course many years ago, and that was it was called the Franciscan, or a course that was teaching people English, and my father was still learning English, and so now he's fluent and proficient in the language, and does very well. And my mother, of course, going to John F. Kennedy High School in Montreal, it was an amazing feat as well for her to leave Italy as an immigrant, as did the rest of her family. So as we understand that it doesn't matter where we're coming from, but what matters is what's inside. When my father was 16, he was working as an engineer in Luxembourg, and he was asked where he's from. He says, "Oh, you're Italian?" And he said, at 16 years old, he said, "I'm not where I came from. That's not who I am." So I understand these values and principles. So when we come from principles, we're able to have inner peace and joy in our life, and we're able to trust that who we are is beyond our external self, and that we can transcend that. It's not about the nationality, and it's not about color. We need to understand that at this point, especially in North America, we've seen such interracial separation, more so than ever before, because we are focusing on the externals rather than what's inside. And what's important is how willing are we to accept each other as a child of God, and look within each other and see the essence of who we are is love. The essence of who we are is truth. The essence of who we are is God. And so we need to go back to that and stay in tune and stay in touch with that. And as we do that, we're able to accept each other for who we are, rather than trying to make someone into something that they can't be. Because it doesn't work. The minute you try to have a worker become something that they're not, they don't do their job efficiently. So when we accept people rather than reject them, allow them to grow, rather than try to control them to be something that they can't ever be. We go back to that prayer that is used in AA. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And when we do that, we're able to accept people for who they are, and accept the parts that we can't change. And now we're loving them rather than disliking them. The most difficult thing today is this level of dislike and hatred for someone. When we dislike something, we disempower ourselves. But when we come from a level of acceptance and love, then that's so important. One of the words that I do not like in the English language is tolerance. And let me explain to you why, in cross-cultural terms, why this is not good. Good example. Oh, well, I like that person, and I accept them for who they are. Okay, and then the next term will be, well, I can tolerate those people that live down the street. Do you see how racist and discriminant that is? You can tolerate them, but that doesn't mean you respect them or love them for who they are. Instead, you're tolerating them, but you're not loving them. And what happened to loving thy neighbor as thyself? I mean, that's so important, to love one another. Now, when someone comes to you and attacks you and say who you are is what's the problem, remember, their perception is important for you to validate, but it's important for you not to necessarily validate it to the point that you acknowledge and agree to everything that they have to say, because the fact is they're entitled to opinion, but you also have a choice not to accept something that is not yours. So when you do not accept something that's not yours, it goes back to them. They own it. It's not yours. So that's so important, the cause and effect, when we come from that cause and effect and we allow people to share their feelings and have some compassion, even though it may be a view that we don't agree with. And we have the same problem with religious wars and personal concerns with other people's man and woman. Again, we're separating cross-culturally based on the relationship. How can you say, because you're a man and I'm a woman, that's why this relationship isn't going right? Isn't it those differences that allows us to love each other? Because if a girlfriend or friend of mine was more like me, then I could just go look in the mirror. I don't really need that. What I need is to be with someone that respects my views and allows me to